the risk to the economy is more on the side of deflation than inflation.
Now, what these people are ignoring is that the greatest danger to the financial system, including themselves, is deflation. It's playing with fire.
If deflation were to intensify, we could find ourselves in a devastating spiral in which prices fall at an ever faster pace and economic activity sinks more and more. The vigorous policy actions of the Fed and other central banks here and abroad have sent a clear message that deflation won't be tolerated.
We are in a period today like we have never been. DNA sequencing, robotics, energy storage, artificial intelligence, and blockchain technology, all of which are deflationary, and not just by a little bit either.
Today, there is more bad news from China. The Chinese economy has slipped into deflation. What does that mean?
How our economy functions is not taught in any North American schools, but I'm confident in the next 10 minutes, you will know why. Let's first grasp a concept you're more familiar with. In 1967, a Big Mac at McDonald's cost 45 cents. And in 2015, a Big Mac cost $3.99. But today, that same Big Mac costs significantly more, $12. That's inflation in action. But I don't need to tell you about that. You're living through it right now.
How the hell is anyone existing in Canada? I feel trapped. And I just got a good job. I started in September, but even with that job, it pays less than 40 grand a year. And it's a job that requires education, and even on that job, I still can't do shit. I can't buy anything. I can't afford the rent these days. I'm just feeling so much despair.
The cost of living, it's too much. The wages are staying the same. I can't afford to move out. I'm 24 and I'm embarrassed that I can't move out. I feel so utterly stuck.
How are we affording life right now?
To a point where people can't live. This amounted to $100. This isn't even barely anything to feed me for a couple days.
I live paycheck to paycheck every week because I'm trying to pay every bill that the world is throwing at me right now.
Prices on everything are up, from food, gas, rent. Instead of $60 to fill up your gas tank, it's $140. Instead of 99 cents for eggs, it's fucking $3. Rent's going from 3 grand to 5 grand.
Even with 3 jobs now, I'm not even gonna make a dent on those credit card bills. I seriously want to know what the end game is.
So why does this happen? At times, inflation arises from heightened demand. Take, for instance, the rush to stores triggered by India's rice export ban, which led to a perceived rice shortage. On other occasions, a rise in the cost of raw materials can drive prices up. An example of this is the surge in used car prices during the COVID era, a result of increased costs in producing microchips essential for new cars. Or perhaps it's due to the ever-churning money printer in the government's basement, running 24/7, like a caffeine addict during finals week. Sustainable? Sure, if you believe in fairy tales.
I do believe in fairies.
You what?
I do believe in fairies.
I do believe in fairies.
No matter the reason, inflation means you might need to spend more money to enjoy the same things. It's like a slow, sneaky tax on your purchasing power. A bit of inflation isn't necessarily bad. Some say it even encourages spending and investment, keeping the economy moving. But like most things in life, too much of it can be a problem. All right, now that we've tackled inflation, let's dive into its lesser-known cousin, deflation. The latest Ford Raptor costs over $100,000 today. Now imagine next year the 2024 model costs only $80,000. Seems like a sweet deal, right? That's deflation in action. In simple terms, deflation means that over time, the money you have can buy more than it used to. It's like your dollar bill is getting a power-up. You might see this during big sales, but imagine if those reduced prices were everywhere, all the time. Sounds awesome? Well, there's a catch. Although given our precedent towards impulse buying, it may be hard to imagine. When people think prices will keep dropping, they might decide to hold on to their money, waiting for an even better deal tomorrow or the next month. Businesses could then start seeing fewer sales, causing them to cut back on making newer things, leading to fewer jobs. The economy could start to slow down like a car running out of gas. Now, while deflation can sound good for our wallets, too much of it can become like quicksand for our inflation-based economy, making it tough to climb out. Maybe you caught that last part. Our current inflationary-based economy is the key here. The economy we know today runs on one fuel: debt. When banks give out loans, they're not dipping into a vault of savings. No, they're crafting fresh IOUs, creating debt.
What is this? What is this? Where's all the money? That's as good as money, sir. Those are IOUs. Go ahead and add it up. Every cent's accounted for. Look. See this? That's a car. 275,000. Might want to hang on to that one.
And there's the catch, the borrowing. If you borrow $100, you might need to return $110 because of interest. But that sneaky extra $10, it's like agreeing to return a book and then being told to write an extra chapter for it. It never got made. So where does it come from?
Write an extra chapter.
That interest, the extra $10, is earned through our daily hustle. Working at jobs, selling things, doing stuff. Somewhere in all that activity, someone's earning the money you'll eventually use to pay back your interest. But what if money became more valuable over time? What if that $100 you owe the bank could buy more tomorrow than today? Remember that $110 you owe? In a world of deflation, paying back becomes tricky. It's like borrowing a toy car and then, when returning time comes, handing over a real one. To square off this swelling debt, we'd need to hustle even harder. But there's a time limit to how much we can push, and companies are only employing the people they absolutely need. When many can't keep up, things start falling apart. Each unpaid loan can knock another and another in a domino effect. Because in a deflationary world, debt becomes a mounting burden, a weight too heavy for the economy's shoulders. That's why in a system built on promises and growth, where new money, or IOUs, constantly need to be created, leading to more debt, deflation poses such a massive threat to our current debt-driven, inflation-based system. It's not just about prices dropping, it's about the entire foundation shaking. And that's why folks in suits and ties worry when prices start dropping too much and money becomes more valuable. But what if we had a system of money that was deflationary? Well, believe it or not, we sort of already do. And you've probably heard about it. Now, before you start thinking, oh, not another social media Bitcoin promo about that scammy internet money that's only used by criminals and internet nerds.
People will use it to buy illegal guns and drugs, and they do, actually, already.
Bear with me. In 2015, this man sold 800 Bitcoins to buy a house. In 2018, he sold that same house for 50 Bitcoins. Now, clearly, the price of Bitcoin changes. This could have easily worked in reverse had he bought and sold at a different time. But this is an example of a deflationary monetary system with a fixed supply. Its issuance gets cut in half every 4 years and has a monetary policy that doesn't change, versus an unknown supply that doubles every 8 years, with a policy that changes in secret like the wind. So if we had a deflationary system, how would it change society? Maybe people would buy less and consumption would go down. But would that be such a bad thing? Sure, there would be fewer jobs, but with all the technology coming our way, that's happening anyway. Anyone who's thinking AI will create more jobs like machines did in car factories isn't looking far enough into the future. Long term, no job is safe. Even the robots will be repairing the robots. But an economy like this would promote saving rather than borrowing. Businesses would be right-sizing and not hiring people they don't necessarily need, but they would still need to hire the skilled people who are essential to their business. Otherwise, they wouldn't have one. Additionally, any money you did have would be worth more tomorrow, so you'd only buy what you need. You'd be incentivized to save for your future, rather than looking for the next big gamble due to the fear that your money be worth less in retirement. You'd evaluate your investments carefully, because your money would retain its actual value. The real problem is that a deflationary model, or even a model with price stability, doesn't work in a system that always needs more money coming in to pay for the things we bought yesterday. Let's rewind that last part. It always needs more money coming in to pay for the things we bought yesterday. New money coming in to pay for the things we bought yesterday. New money coming in to pay for the things we bought yesterday. To pay for the things we bought yesterday. Sound familiar? A Ponzi scheme is defined as a scheme that relies on a constant influx of new money to continue. Without that constant influx of new money coming in, our current system cannot continue. And that is the crux of it. This is why, with all the technological advancements, from the computer to the smartphone, electric cars, and AI, things have not gotten any cheaper for us. Beyond convenience isn't the promise of technology, reduced labor, and more affordable goods. When you realize how our central banking system works, you understand why this isn't the case. Sure, those who own assets like homes and stocks might not see the problem as starkly. If your home's value is keeping up with inflation, your hard work might be paying off. That is, until interest payments become so high you can no longer afford them. But for the rest of society that doesn't own a home that's increasing in value, things are just getting more expensive, and wages can't keep up. If the system doesn't benefit the majority, it doesn't truly benefit anyone. Now, I won't sugarcoat it. We are in a bind. Things won't get any easier with our current inflation-based system, and they'll get much worse if the system becomes deflationary. But it's like a choice between a death plagued by sickness, surgeries, and palliative care, or getting hit by a bus. Either way, it's just a matter of time before our current system gets a major reset. The difficult decision we should be making now is, will we opt for a monetary system that makes it better for our future long term? Or will we allow our government to implement a system of central bank digital currencies where they can inflate the system with the press of a button, place expiry dates to stimulate the economy, and take whatever our government needs as a policy? Or will a public blockchain, like Bitcoin, offer us a bridge to a system where we can slowly switch to a monetary equilibrium, where money at least retains its value?
Wall Street is fraud, America is fraud, the world is fraud, banks are fraud, central banks are fraud. We live in an era of fraud. It's all based on fraud, and they get a percentage of the fraud. That's the business model.
That's the economy.